$700, $800 a week. And what they'll do is that they'll say, oh yeah, you get great mileage, fantastic mileage, and you will. They'll run your butt off, you know, at first. This is the horror stories that I've heard. They'll run your butt off. And then when you've got the lease down and you've got everything and you're through, I guess, a waiting period or grace period or orientation period or whatever, all of a sudden your mileage will go down. And that means your pay goes down, which means you lose your truck, which means they take that truck away from you. You've got bad credit. You can't lease another truck, or you got to quit. And they'll take that truck and they'll give it to, you know, some other Oscar Mayer Wiener, you know, wanting to lease. So what these companies will do is that they'll make money on churning. They'll get as much as they can out of you know, they'll get the mileage, but they might have 5-6 drivers in a year in one truck getting that mileage. So, but not, let me make the statement that not all companies are like that. There are some really good companies that are out there. You know, there are some good companies that are good. There are some good companies where you're going to develop relationships and you'll know as far as where you're going to fit in. There's some companies that have two different ways. It's been my experience, and my experience is that company A will be fantastic as far as training, fantastic as far as the trucks. Get brand new equipment. They give you this, they give you that, and everything is, you know, everything's good. You might get good mileage. Again, you get a nice equipment, nice comfortable truck. But when you talk to somebody, they talk to you like you're dirt, like you're a third person. And as I said, some of these people are doctors, they're lawyers, ex-doctors, you know, some lawyers and things. And depending upon, you know, usually it's not a doctor or a lawyer, but I'm talking about usually it's somebody that's in the business world, somebody who's maybe the auto world or maybe a construction job or something. And I think it'd be very dangerous to talk to somebody who's been in construction all his life, or been in a position of authority all his life, and then all of a sudden talk to him like he's a child, like he's one of your children, and talk to him, you know, talk down to him. You know, I think that's kind of dangerous, and fleet managers are known to do that. A lot of fleet managers haven't, you know, I heard one statement the other day, a lot of fleet managers haven't even smelled diesel. They don't even know what diesel smells like, much less, you know, driving a truck. But they're pencil pushers. They know planning, and they know this, and they know that. You know, again, it all depends. There are some exceptions, just like in every industry there are exceptions. There are very, very good companies, there are very, very good fleet managers, there are very, very bad companies, there are very, very bad fleet managers. If you get to a fleet manager where he tells you, if you're on ice and snow, or you're real tired, and he tells you, after you told him that you're going to shut down, and he starts balking, saying, well, you know, we're going to do this, do that, you know, and they're not going to tell you because it's recorded. They're not going to say, well, you need to drive, or we need to push you down the road. You know, they're not going to tell you that. What they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you know, what'll happen if you don't do that, then what's going to happen is it's going to affect your home time. You're not going to be able to get your home on time because they're not going to be able to give you the, you know, plan and stuff like that. It's kind of like an ultimatum of an ultimatum, okay? And again, you don't have to see crap in order to, you know, but if you smell it, you know what it is, and if you hear it, you know what it is. You don't have to, you know, again, you don't have to see it. Sometimes what they'll do is that they'll say it in different terms. My suggestion is that what you do, and they'll get mad if you say something like this, put on the Qualcomm. Anything that you want me to do business-wise, put it on the Qualcomm. And they'll say, why? Why do you want me to put it on Qualcomm? Well, because I need some type of a record that I just told you that I'm shutting down, and I can't, and I'm tired, or it's icy out there, and well, what about the load? Well, the load can wait. You know, they'll get mad, and sometimes you have to kind of have to weigh things out. Sometimes you got to look at the weather. You got to look at the weather. You got to look at the situation. Get enough sleep. I'm waiting to deliver a load right now, and I should be sleeping. I'm doing this video. I should be sleeping. At any given time that you get a chance, you need to sleep so that you get rest. You need to get at least 8 hours of rest. They give you a 10-hour break every day. You have a 10-hour break every day. At least a 10-hour break, or at least an 8-hour break. Usually it's a 10-hour break that you need. But an 8-hour break, you should be sleeping. If it's snowing, if it's raining, anytime that you feel really uncomfortable, I had one trainer say, you know, challenge yourself. Well, you got to challenge yourself, which is true. And I'm one of the ones that you have to really challenge because, you know, of me driving slow, and I was a real skittish driver, and because it's very intimidating at first. But if you have a situation where you feel unsafe to drive, then don't drive. Find a place and tell them. And I don't care whether they hop up and down, they crop their drawers, they tell you this, they tell you that. They're not. All you have to say is one word, and that is safety. And that's not being a narc, and that's not being a baby. You gotta, again, you have to put, as one trainer used to tell me, you gotta put your big boy panties on and go down the road when you can. But because it is intimidating, you have to kind of challenge yourself. But if there's a lot of ice, and particularly if you see people spinning around in ice and snow, and other truck drivers that are going real slow, kind of look at the way other people are driving. But if anytime that you feel unsafe, now you got to do a pre-trip on your truck every day to make sure the truck is safe. As far as you don't have bald tires, you don't have a tire that's also going to leave you stranded in in 10-degree weather or 10 below zero weather. But if you feel bad and they give you bunk about it, then you need to go to the safety department and tell them, hey, this guy's trying to push me down the road. Because most fleet managers, if not all fleet managers, are paid by the load just like you are. You're being paid by the mileage. They're being paid, for getting the load there, and they're responsible because that's their manager. Now they are technically they are your boss, and they can do a lot of things, but nothing, absolutely nothing, is more important than your safety or the people around you safety. So it's real important that you don't have a fleet, and change the fleet manager. If you have a fleet manager that tells you that all the other drivers in the area, they're able to do it, why can't you ignore it? If they tell you that they're going to have you do this and have you do that, let them do that. But then but then tell them, this is it's not fair, and then we'll go into it as far as further down the further retort afterwards. But if you have a company that supports you driving down the road, now they're in business to make money, so you have to have your loads there on time, which means you don't be late, you don't sleep through an alarm, you don't watch YouTube or watch a movie until 4 o'clock in the morning when you've got delivery at 6 o'clock in the morning as far as to get there, and try to rush down the road because that's going to cause an accident. But if you don't feel comfortable, then don't do it. I would stay away from truck stops unless you're fueling or unless you're picking up food. Food should stay in the truck. What you should do is you try to get as much food as you can at home and try to eat from home, because it's really expensive eating at a truck stop. But truck stops are also dangerous places to be. Is that most accidents happen at truck stops, or most of your accidents that I have heard usually are, and they're not accidents that are light. Some are, but some not usually life threatening. But usually, you got someone who'll back into somebody else's front of their truck, or they'll go around a corner. People don't park in corners because of that, because they don't want the front of their truck taken off. But what you have to realize is that you're driving a big truck. It's a big, expensive truck, and a fender bender in a car. If you hit somebody as hard as just a little fender bender with your truck, particularly if it's another truck or a car, what you're talking about a lot of inertia. Inertia being the energy carried forward. But if you hit somebody in a truck versus a car, the truck is going to destroy the car. It's going to destroy the front of a vehicle. So stay away from truck stops if you can. Try to stay away from the CB as much as possible, because they will try to goad you into going faster. They'll try to goad you into going slower. Use it for directions, and just kind of use discernment as far as what type of direction that you get. Because sometimes truck drivers will tell you going a wrong direction just because you're a newbie, or just because they don't like the companies you're working for, or something like that. Another thing is don't put yourself by yourself. Don't go in a truck stop where a lot of people are, and also don't put yourself down a dirt road or down a road where nobody else is traveling, because that's just an invitation as far as for somebody to rob you and take your load. And they care about the load. They don't care about you, so they have no problems. There was a man that was doing a load for a buddy of his that was having a baby in South Carolina. He parked in a place that he knew was an abandoned gas station, and these people just walked out. He was talking on the cell phone, talking to his wife on the cell phone, and these people just walked right up and just shot him through the window, shot him in the head through the window. You know how much money they got? They got $7. It's total $7. So don't put yourself in a group of people. In other words, go to a place. I usually go to rest stops. And rest stops aren't all that safe either. But you can. I think they're a little bit better because you can stay in the truck. You can lock your truck down, and there's certain ways to do that. We can get into a later time. But truck driving is a different animal. It's a totally different animal. You're away from home, and it's not like the military either. I've never been in the military, but I would think that it's not like the military in the respect that you've got a certain amount of people. In the military, people tell you what to do, or you're telling other people what to do. In truck driving, you have to make decisions on your own. Nobody's making decisions for you, and if you make the wrong decision, then they say that they told you to do something, or they think that they made the decisions for you. Okay, so it's kind of like you're walking a tight line. If you don't move, if you're not rolling the truck, you're being paid by the mile. So if the truck's not moving, you're not making any money. Okay, you want to keep yourself safe, and you also want to keep yourself refreshed. So you're kind of walking a fine line as far as that. A lot of times that you go. I've heard people talk about spending between $100 and $250 a week, just because they had to eat in a truck, or had to eat in a truck stop. We'll go into it. And there's a lot of videos that are on YouTube concerning what to eat at a truck stop, how to keep fit. I'm certainly not one of the ones on YouTube that will tell you how to keep fit, because I'm not fit at all. But a lot of times people will tell you to exercise. They'll tell you to exercise as you're going down the road. A lot of times they'll tell you to hold the steering wheel and kick your feet. Move your arms. Like this as you're going down the road. Different stuff. But a lot of times, you're going to end up, probably gaining more weight if you're not careful. You gain more weight, your energy will become less, because all you're doing is pretty much sitting there. You have to keep yourself alert. If you go through training, usually you've got 8 mirrors, and they want you to go through the mirrors, one after another. Make sure that everybody's out of your way. You got to make sure that you know about your load. You can't just all of a sudden stop on a dime. People will try to cut in front of you. Nobody wants to be behind a truck. Nobody wants to be behind a slow car, much less a slow truck. So anytime that you're at a stoplight or something, they'll try to zoom around you, and that's where you got to be careful, particularly if you're going around a corner, because they'll try to, and they're not trying to cut you off. They're just trying to get by you, and they don't realize that you're carrying 40,000 pounds, and they'll run right over them, and you'll squish them like a bug. And another thing is that you will lose whatever testimony, and I'm not saying this all the time, I shouldn't say you will, but I am a Christian. I believe in the Lord. I believe I have accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I have prayed every single day for my health and for my safety and for everybody's safety that's around me, plus the safety of my family at home. But there are other truck drivers that are completely opposite. There are other drivers that are completely opposite, just like there are, elsewhere in the world. But it seems that you kind of like have tunnel vision with this. Every single time that you hear somebody on the radio, they're using GD or the F-bomb or something, and they're just talking, and that's something that you can't really control unless you talk to them one-on-one. But everybody's doing it. So my final suggestion before I get off here and end this is that you don't succumb to a lot of the temptations that are out there, and that is from food in a truck stop, because they got some enticingly good looking food. I mean, they have hamburgers, they have pizza, they have chicken, plus they have like hot dogs and food that you don't even want to look at, much less name. Plus they have and they try their best. They try because they got fruit and different things, and they have the packaged things and the energy drinks and things like that. But anyway, you can spend a lot of money doing that. You've got to be careful of that. You've got to be careful of the temptation, as far as, because I really haven't personally had that much of a problem with it. But there's some truck stops where, and again, another reason why I don't necessarily want to be in a truck stop, and that is that you want to be sleeping, and you don't want every 5 minutes you want to hear, "Need some company? I'm just trying to get home. Can you help me?" And it's not necessarily lot lizards. I had 4 people the other day come up to my truck, and they said they had to get home and they wanted to polish my wheels. They didn't want to polish anything else. They just want to polish my, they just want to polish my rims. And they give you a sob story, and I don't mean to bother you. Well, why do you bother me? That type of thing, And I have discernment of people that are really homeless and different things, and people who really need help. And I really haven't seen that many people. But anyway, you don't want to succumb to the temptations that are out there. You've got food temptations. You've got temptations for people. I mean, the temptation is that if you know an area just a little bit, you might have a temptation as far as to go out of route from what your Qualcomm, because they give you routing instructions. If you're working for a decent company, they give you routing instructions, or you're using your GP, using a. Everybody should have a trucker map and know the trucking routes. But the point that I'm getting at is, if you try to cut across, other than go out of route, sometimes what's going to happen is that you haven't checked the height of an overpass. You haven't checked the speeds, you haven't checked bridge weights, you haven't checked routes. Some routes are totally restricted. Most parkways do not allow trucks at all. Turnpikes you got to be careful of. All of a sudden you come to a turnpike. The other day I came to a turnpike, the Florida Turnpike, and let me tell you, the turnpike fee from Ocala, from I-75, just letting you know, from I-75 to Orlando for a semi is $12 each way. So that's $24. If you go out to Oklahoma and you go from, say, Tulsa to Oklahoma City, that's $18.50. Maybe not. It's $18.50. That might be from Joplin, Missouri, all the way. Anyway, it's the turnpike. It's the Oklahoma Turnpike, and your company will usually pay for. They'll give you like a pre-pass or something like that. But there's some places, some companies, who don't have a lot of loads that go through this, so they don't pay the money to pay for the passes, the automatic. And passes are the ones that let you go through a toll. They're the ones that let you go through go down a turnpike or go down a parkway. I said, because some parkways will let you, but most parkways will not. They're restricted to cars, because they usually have lower overpasses, and their bridges are usually weight limited and things like that. But anyway, what some companies will do is that they'll just go down and they'll foot it. They'll take care of it. Everything's fine. But there are other places like the company I work for doesn't go on the. A lot of times it doesn't pay for them to go into Florida, or they don't have a fleet that goes into Florida. I work for a fleet that does, but they don't. I go all over. But if they're not consistently going down there, they're not going to pay the money for it. So sometimes it's out of pocket. Now it's reimbursable, but if you pay, say, if you go 2 days in a truck stop, I'm sorry, if you go to the truck stop, I'm getting low on the battery. But if you go down, if you spend 2 days of going back and forth on a turnpike, and say $12, and they're going to reimburse you, well, that's great, but it comes out of your pocket this week, and then they reimburse you next week. So hold on 1 second here. I had a thing saying my battery was low, and I had to dismiss it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close for now. I've said a lot. I've said a lot like a Reader's Digest version of a lot of things. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm not going to tell you about route planning. I'm not going to tell you about a lot of things that you should be asking a seasoned truck driver about. When I say going out of route, you need to know how to go out of route. When they tell you about eating, and when I tell you about succumbing to the temptation of eating good food, there's some good food out there, but mostly it's what you're going to bring from home, and you're able to cook in a truck. We'll talk about power, because a lot of times you can't use an inverter. You're in a truck during the wintertime, you're in the truck during the summertime, so you got to have heat, you have to have air conditioning. We'll talk about idling and things, but I just want to kind of let you know. If you're not interested, you can subscribe. Just look for the subscribe button. But if you're interested, subscribe. If you're not, then don't worry about it. Don't get all up into me. If you don't like what I'm saying, just move on. Go to someplace else. This is kind of like a TV channel. If you don't like what you hear, or don't like what I'm saying, or don't like the way I look, then just turn the channel. Go to somebody else. There are lots of other truck drivers that are out there that will give you advice. But keep in mind that advice, it's kind of like noses. Everybody's got one. Everybody's got an opinion. Kind of like noses or butts. Everybody's got one, so they're gonna, they'll let you. they'll certainly voice their opinion. Truck drivers will tell you an opinion, and if again, if a story is half a mile long, then they'll make it 2 miles. Usually because again, they're storytellers. Another thing that I've heard people talk about, I heard one person say that there are no cowboys anymore. They're truck drivers now. We're the cowboys now out there. We have to, because it's true that if it was not for truck drivers, you wouldn't get the food that's on your table, you wouldn't get the clothes that you wear on your back, you wouldn't get the car that you drive, nothing. Everything is responsible for a truck. Our truck delivered it. If it wasn't delivered by a truck, you wouldn't get it. Doesn't make any difference. Even the stuff from China, you still have to have a truck go intermodal and go get it from a train or from a boat, and and get it and bring it to to wherever. Okay, so you all be blessed. Please don't be a lot of haters on here. I'm not an expert at everything, so just kind of bear with me. Y'all be blessed, and y'all have a wonderful day, and hopefully I'll be doing this on a consistent basis. But keep in mind that I have to go where the Wi-Fi is, and Wi-Fi is, sometimes you have to pay for it, and sometimes you don't. I try to go to the free Wi-Fi's. But y'all be blessed and have a really good day. And this is Keeper Pete signing off.